Hi guys, welcome back again to my channel. And in our lesson today, we want to consider factorization of quadratic expression and equation. Some of these are quadratic expressions, some are equation. The first equations are expression because we don't have equality sign, but the next 9 questions are equations because we have two parts of the equation or the expression separated by equality sign. So that's why we call it equation. And they are quadratic expressions or equations because the powers of the variables are 2, right? We have raised to power 2, raised to power 2, raised to power 2 everywhere, even including here. This is raised to power 2 because 7x times 2x will give you 14x power 2. So let's go through the lesson and see how we can simplify expressions like this step by step. So for the first one, I have 6n power 2 minus 7n minus 3. So the first thing we do is to find the product. The product is coefficient of your squared variable times the constant. So this is minus 18. 6 times minus 3 is minus 18. Then you get your sum, right? The sum is minus 7. The coefficient of n, the coefficient of the variable that does not have a square is your sum. So look out for two numbers you can multiply to have negative 18. When you add the same two numbers, you have minus 7, right? So that has to be minus 9 times 2. If you multiply the both of them, you have minus 18. Then you say minus 9 plus 2, the same two numbers, you are having 7. So what we do is to replace minus 7n with minus 9 and 2. Okay, so we're going to be having 6n squared minus 9n plus 2n. Now in the real sense, what we have here is minus 7n because minus 9n plus 2n will give you back your what? 7n. Then bring down minus 3. All right, so let's factorize now. The essence of doing this is to make sure that the expression has 4 terms. So long as you have a 4 term, you can now group it into 2 brackets and factorize. So what do we have common here and here? I have 3n to be common because 3n can divide 9n and then can divide 6n squared. So 3n divides 6n squared, that will give me 2n, right? 3n divide 9n, that will give me minus 3 because n divide n is gone. 3 divide 9 is 3. Then let's go to the second one. What do we have common here and here? That is 1. Because 1 divide 2n, we have 2n. 1 divide 3, we have 3. Now take note, the bracket you have here must be the same as what you have here. Okay? Then take the outside terms, the coefficient terms, n plus 1, and then 2n minus 3. We have succeeded in factorizing this expression. All right? And that becomes the solution. Let's solve the second expression. I have 3n squared minus 4n plus 1. So get your product. Our product is the coefficient of the squared variable times the constant, that is 3. Then what about our sum? I don't want to be writing this all the times. So what about our sum? The coefficient of n minus 4. So what are the two numbers that when you multiply, you have 3? You add the same two numbers, you have negative 4. Is that possible? Of course, that's possible. Negative 3 times negative 1, what will it give you? It will give you a positive 3. Now, when you say minus 3 plus minus 1, minus 3 plus minus 1 will give you minus 4, right? You are owing somebody 3 items, owing another person 1 item. You are owing 4 items altogether. So what we do now is to replace minus 4n with what? Minus 3 and minus 1. So we are going to be having 3n squared minus 3n minus 1n. You write it as n, right? Plus 1. So when you have 1x, there is no point writing the 1 because coefficient of every variable is 1. So group into 2 brackets and factorize. What do I have common here? I still have 3n to be common. 3n divide 3n squared, that would give me n. 3n divide 3n should give me 1. When you divide 3n by itself, that is 1. So what do we have common here? This is minus 1. We have minus 1 because 1 can divide n and also divide 1. Now, because we have negative here, here has to be negative. So what do we now have? N minus 1. Why is it n minus 1 instead of plus 1? Because if I decide to open this bracket now, I will obtain what I have here exactly. So minus 1 times minus 1 should give me a positive 1. That is why I have to change the sign here as negative. Another second reason is because the bracket here must have the same entry as the bracket here. So since here is n minus 1, here has to be n minus 1. So let's write the terms outside the bracket. That is 3n minus 1 and then n minus 1. That becomes our solution. Let me allow you to solve number 3. Follow the same step. Let me go to number 4. Number 4 is looking more difficult because the numbers are large, but it's quite easy to solve. Minus 50f. So I have to leave that one for you so that you can at least practice what I have just taught you. So let's get our product first. To get our product, 8 will multiply 75 and that will give us 600. That is our product. Then the sum is this guy, minus 50. So let's get the two factors for 600 and then for 50. Now, what two numbers can you multiply to have 600? You add the same two numbers, you have negative 50, right? You know that for 600, 2 times 3 will give you 6. So if I say 30 times 20, I will have 600. But because we are looking for negative 50, they have to be negative 30, negative 20. All right? Negative 30 times negative 20 will give you 600. And then for this one, negative 30 plus negative 20, that will give you negative 50. So having gotten the factors, let's substitute in this expression. This is 8f squared minus what? 30, put your f, minus 20, put your f, plus 75. So let's group into two brackets and factor out common terms. What do we have common here and here? What number can divide 8 and also divide 30? That has to be 2. So we factor out 2. We have f here. We also have f squared here. So bring f outside. Now 2f divide f 8f squared. That is 4f because f we divide f squared. 2 we divide 8. Minus 2 divide 30 we have 15. F divide f, that's gone. Okay, so we have factorized the other part. Minus, let's factorize here. What number can divide 20 and also divide 75? That is the biggest number or greatest number. We call it HCF or GCF. So the greatest number, the biggest number that can divide 20 and divide 75 is 5. Right? Bring it outside. So 5 divide 20 will give us 4. Then nothing to divide f. Bring it down. Then I'm going to be using minus here because here is negative. Minus times minus will give me plus. So 5 divide 75 will give me 15. You can observe that this bracket and this bracket are now equal. They are same. So we are going to have 2f minus 5 and then 4f minus 15. That's it. We have factorized this one as well. Then I will also leave number 6 for you to try. Use this and multiply here. That is 21. Let me give you an expo. The factors have to be 21 and 1. 21 and 1. When you multiply 21 times 1, you have 21. 21 plus 1, you have 22. So solve this one. Let me solve number 5. Now, number 5, we have two variables, x and y. All right. Whenever you are solving quadratic expression and your variables are 2, just like we have here x and y, sometimes they will give you s and t. They will give you a and b, right? Now, one of the variables must be treated as what? A constant. Treat one of the variable as a constant. Quadratic equation must always have one variable. So we are considering y to be a variable, to be a constant, to be a number, right? So how do we get our product? We use the number coefficient of the variable, squared variable, to multiply the constant. So I'll use y squared to times 30. I'll have 30y. That is my product, 30y squared. Then what about my sum? The sum is always the coefficient of the variable. So we are treating x as a variable. Y is a constant or coefficient of this x. So I'll take it down as y minus y. Okay. Let me repeat myself. Whenever you have two variables in an expression, one of them is just like a number. So we are considering this guy as a number. Just the same way we have 50f. We are looking at y as the number here. We are looking at y here as a number here. So take this guy as coefficient of x squared. All right. If you have ab, b is the coefficient of a. Coefficient must not always be at the front. Like if I have 2x, 2 is the coefficient of x. It's not a must that the coefficient must be at the front. It can also be at the back. So what are the two numbers that when you multiply, you have 30y squared? That has to be 6y times 5y, because 6 times 5 is 30. Y times y is y squared. Now they have to be negative and negative so that we will be able to, okay, one has to be, all right, this is minus 30. So one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Now, minus 6 times positive 5 will give you negative 30. Then let's add them. Minus 6y plus 5y. What would that give us? It will give us y, because minus 6 plus 5 will give us negative 1. So when it now involves a variable, minus 6y plus 5y, that will give you negative y. So we have gotten the two factors for the expression. So we are going to now have x squared y squared minus, write this guy, 6yx. Don't forget to bring down the variable existing here. When we replace 50 by 30 and 20, we had to bring down what? The f. So this is yx plus 5yx minus 30. So let's group and factorize. We have x here, we have y. So we bring it outside, x, y. Now x, we divide x, we have x. Y, we divide y, we have y. X, we divide x, y, we divide y. So we have only minus 6. Let's come over here. 5 is common because 5 can divide 5 and 5 can divide 30. So I'll bring out 5. Then what do we have? 5 divide 5, we have y and x remaining. You can write it as xy, right? Xy is same as yx because they are commutative. Then 5 divide 30 will give us minus 6. You observe that this bracket and this bracket are same. Anytime you are done factorizing and this bracket is not same as this, start again. That means you have made a mistake somewhere. So take the outside terms, xy plus 5, then the one of the brackets, xy minus 6. That becomes our solution. Having done that, let's move over to the equations. We have been dealing with the expressions. Now we are moving over to the equations. All right, so let's solve the first one. We have x minus 2 raised to the power of 2 equals to 9. So how do we solve quadratic equation like this? Now let me show you the mistake that many people do, many students do. Most students will go and expand this bracket, collect like terms, and produce a quadratic equation. When they have produced the quadratic equation, they now start factorizing it. That is a stress and waste of time. Look at what you do. Take the square root of the both sides. You have x minus 2 squared equals 9. Now take square root of here and take square root of here. But for the right hand side, you introduce plus and minus because we are solving quadratic equation. Quadratic equation will always produce two solutions. So the plus and minus will help us produce two solutions. So from here, square will take away the square root. So I now have x minus 2. Take the square root of 9, that is 3, right? So this is plus or minus 3. We are looking for x. So take 2 to the right hand side. We'll be having x equals 2 plus or minus 3. If you take negative 2 to the right hand side, it becomes what? Positive. So separate it. X will be equal to 2 plus 3 or 2 minus 3. I've separated the plus to the two numbers. That means that x is either 5 or minus 1. Or minus 1. 2 plus 3, 5. 2 minus 3, minus 1. So that becomes the solution. You can try. Use x as 5 and put in this solution. and see if you are getting 9. Can we try this? So if x is 5, we'll have 5 minus 2. That is putting x here. Raised to the power of 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. Now 3 squared is 9. So the left hand side is giving us 9. Let's try that with a negative 1. So I'll put a negative 1 here. Minus 1 minus 2 will give us minus 3. Now minus 3 squared will give us positive 9. So this is true for the solution. So for other equations we'll be solving, you can test it by yourself and see if it will give us a solution or not. So the next we have x minus 4 raised to the power of 2 equals 10. So let's do the same thing again. We are taking the square root of the both sides. So I'll take square root of here plus or minus. Take square root of here. So the square will cancel out the square root. We now have x minus 4 equals 10 does not have a square root. Therefore, leave it like this as a root. Plus or minus square root of 10. Take 4 to the other side. So we have x to be equal to 4 plus or minus square root of 10. Lastly, you separate the plus and minus. So x will be 4 plus square root of 10 or 4 minus square root of 10. We cannot simplify it further. Okay, the next thing you may do is to change this guy to a decimal number. When you have changed it, you add. Change the decimal, you subtract. But this solution is very correct. So we can leave it like this. All right, so let's solve the third one. The third one is a mixed number. I would have allowed you to solve it. So you look at number 3. The same way I will solve this one is the same way you will solve this one. But this one does not have a mixed number. So I'll tell you at what stage this number 3 will be exactly number 4, so that you can solve it yourself as a practice question. All right, so that's number 3. X minus 2 whole number 1 over 2 raised to the power of 2 equals 6 whole number 1 over 4. Now, anytime you have a mixed fraction and you want to take the square root of that mixed fraction, change it to improper fraction first. So we have x minus 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1. You have 5 over 2. Then 4 times 6 is 24 plus 1. We have 25 over 4. Okay. So what next? We now take the square root of the both sides. Take square root of here plus or minus. Okay, at this stage, this guy and this guy is now same. So what you need to do here is to take the square root of the both sides. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 4 is 2. So you are going to be having 1 over 2. So complete the solution by yourself. You now bring 2 over, right? So I'm taking square root here. Square root will kill the square. We now have x minus 5 over 2 equals square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 4 is 2. Bring down your plus or minus. We are making progress. So next, make x the subject. That means we are taking this guy to the other side. We'll now have 5 over 2. I've taken 5 over 2 over this side. Plus or minus 5 over 2. So let's separate. We now have x to be equal to 5 over 2 plus 5 over 2 or 5 over 2 minus 5 over 2. Separating the plus and minus. Now, because we have common denominator, this will be 2 over 10. 5 plus 5. Take one common denominator. Anytime you have common denominator, just take one and add your numerators. Or we have common denominator also. So take 1. 5 minus 5, because what we have is minus. Sorry, let me just write it straight. Since we wrote this one straight. 5 minus 5 is 0. So we now have x. 10 over 2 is 5. 0 over 2 is 0. So our solution is either 0 or 5. You can put 5 here and see if after simplifying it, that is here, you will get this guy. Or you can equally try it with 0, right? So you try number 4 yourself. Let me go straight to number 6. All right, this number 6 and number 7 are similar, but they are not very similar. They are not very the same. So pay attention, very close attention to the both of them and see how I'll solve it. Now, to solve this one, I can divide both sides by the coefficient of x squared, right? 3 will divide 3, we now have x squared. Now, 3 divide 192, that will give me 64. Simple. To get x, I will take the square root of the both sides. So x squared, take the square root, plus or minus, take the square root of 64. So taking the square root of both of them, so that square root will cancel the square, we now have x, plus or minus, square root of 64 is what? 8. So x will either be positive 8 or negative 8. Very nice solution. All right. So let's now simplify number 7, which is similar to number 6, but not so similar. Now, looking here, you see that 3 can divide 24 and x can divide x squared. But please don't try that. Never you try that. It's a common error among students. Because I have a variable here and a variable here, they are like terms. So I must collect like terms. The reason why I divided it is because there is no variable here. All right. So I'll simply say 3x squared minus 24x equals 0. I will bring 24x inside here or to the left hand side. So look out for common terms. What do you have here that you have here? That is 3x. Because I have x here, I also have x here. Bring 1 outside. I have 3 here and I have 24. 3 can divide 24. That is why 3 is common. So what do we have remaining? 3x divide 3x squared will give me only x. 3x divides 24x will give me only 8. All right? Because x will divide x and it is gone. 3 divided 24, that will give me 8. So at this point, you can now say that 3x is equal to 0. This one equate it to 0. Then the bracket x minus 8 is also equal to 0. Now from here, make x the subject of the formula. That means we'll have x is equal to 0 over 3. I'll use 3 and divide the both sides. So x is 0. X is 0 here. Therefore here, we are going to say take 8 to the other side of the equation. 0 plus 8. So when you now add, we have x to be equal to 8. So x is either a 0 or an 8. Right, from the solution. So that's it. Now for number 8, solve it also. So I've left how many assignments for you? This is 1 and 2, okay, and 3. I also left this one for you. So this is number 4th assignment now. You can now solve this since I already did similar question. This and this are similar. So taking the square root of the both sides, square root of 0 is 0, right? So by the time you now take square root of 0, you say plus or minus square root of 0. Square root of 0 is also 0, plus or minus 0. So plus or minus 0 is same as 0. There is nothing like negative 0 or positive 0. So when you take the square root of 0, there is no need putting the plus or minus. So that means what you will have is, let me not continue because I almost solved everything. So finish this up. Let me solve this one and last. So we have 7x into 2x minus 9 equals 0. So this one is equal to 0. 7x will be equal to 0. Then the bracket equal to 0. 2x minus 9 equals 0. For here, make x the subject. X will have to be 0 over 7. I am dividing the both sides by 7. We have 0 over 7, right? Then for the second one, now 0 over 7 is same as 0. So for the second one, take 9 across. So we have 2x equal to positive 9. It should have been plus 0, but 9 plus 0 is still 9. So we divide both sides by 2. We now have x to be equal to 4 whole number 1 over 2. When you divide 9 by 2, you have 4 whole number 1 over 2. Meanwhile, 2 will divide 2 here. So x is either 4 whole number 1 over 2 or 0. Or 0. All right. So that's it. That's it. I've done most of the work. I will love you to perform the assignments and drop your answers at the comment section and I'll see it. Thank you very much for watching to the end. Do well to like this video, share it to your friends, and follow for more interesting math tutorial. My next video will be dropping around 8 p.m. Make sure to check on my channel and get in touch with it. See you in my next video. Bye.